Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a phenomenal day. Let's take another look here at ICP, see what's going on. Down 5% on the day. It did reject off that macro point of control we talked about yesterday, that 790 range, which makes sense. The alternative scenario was for it to bounce off the local point of control at 685 rather. That could still happen. So it's more likely than not we're going to see the price continue lower and bounce off that local area of control. So it's not a guarantee, it's still it's a distinct probability. We're going to look at other factors too to make sure that we understand that it's not just, good or okay to blindly jump into a coin that's dropping right now, because we got to recognize Bitcoin is pulling back. It's substantially retracing right now, or sorry, it's the retracement could be substantial, whereas it's starting to pull back and lose that key level support. So if that does end up happening, we could very well see this lower level liquidation at 620 swept, which is effectively the most recent low here for ICP. So I'm not proposing that you should be super bearish on this coin, but ICP has, while it recovered well, it's performing normal to to the market and responding just kind of standard, if you will. Okay? So understand that. Let's look at the liquidation here. We can see again this low level at about 625, upwards of $8 even being the upper point. So we're kind of smack dab in the middle of that. And when that happens, a lot of times you want to look at the technical analysis a little bit more and kind of recognize key fib levels or supports versus just kind of going with too much macro. Because again, this retracement period that we're in, it's redefining its ranges, because we haven't been in this range for quite a while. So you got to recognize that it's not exact science. It's one of those things where it takes a little bit of time to develop. But at this point, we'll go ahead and draw out some more recent local fibs here and kind of see where we're at. We're testing that 0.382 area, and we do take a look. 0.5, 0.618 are below us. That 0.618, that golden pocket, is right there at that point of control. So that seems like a very sensible place to consider a long position, or to secure profits on a short at that range. Just above that level, of course, maybe 690 instead of 685, right? You never secure profits at exact levels. Don't use round numbers, always find odd numbers. It really just helps you get filled a little bit more effectively. So daily time frame. If we double check here, some important stuff. I mean, most coins are going to exude the same behavior. In fact, this one's actually kind of better in a strange way. In other words, we're close-ish, if you will, to the 50-day SMA. And the 50-day SMA is right there above that macro point of control. So that macro point of control is that area that you want to recognize has a decent amount of resistance. So until we break above that level, we're going to be in a position where the price is more likely to hold below and or retrace from there. So again, a solid closure above 840 or higher. I've talked about this plenty over the last couple of days. It's important to recognize that would be a strong consideration for a long. Between now and then, it doesn't make a ton of sense to take a long into a coin that is retracing and pulling back almost 2 to 3x of Bitcoin right now. Okay, so again, Bitcoin's breaking even for the day, and ICP is way down. That's not a good start. Last but not least here on the daily, just to quickly clarify, we are getting back closer towards that 30 on the RSI, kind of pulling back there. And then, of course, we got stochastic swinging up, and MACD is slowly losing its divergence. So these are all standard normal things that happen when the price action pulls back as hard as it did. Okay, so nothing crazy on the daily time frame. It's not great, though. There's no other way around it. 4-hour time frame is good and bad. Let me explain. The 20-day SMA there, we were above that for a little while. That showed we had some nice little momentum, shifting gears, so to speak. However, we're back underneath it at this point, and we can presume it's going to work as a resistance. Keep in mind, it's a range. It's not necessarily an exact science, so try not to base too much off of it. But being above it generally tells us we're more favorable to go up, and if you're below it, more favorable to go down. That's the concept of how you should interpret that. We're also under 50 on the RSI, got rejected soundly at that level. All the more reason why shorting 50 on the RSI can be very successful in a lot of ways, just like taking a long into 30 on the RSI if it holds. It just kind of reaffirms those key level supports or resistances. MACD is diverging here, of course. That's standard as well for this situation. Stochastic pulling back. A lot of divergences here, and with Bitcoin kind of retracing to that low to mid 55K range, there's a solid chance we're going to see the point, the ICP go lower, right? Now, how much lower? That's the question. Generally speaking, I think the first stopping point would be either $7.05, 705, that's a 0.5 fib, or also that 0.618, that golden pocket at 685. That seems more logical to me, to see the price action kind of work its way down and to inevitably bounce off that level. Okay, but if we do zoom in, we can kind of see the local point of control here for the more recent time frame since we've been in this range, it aggregates itself right there at about 725, which is now a resistance, but also we got a reaffirmed support at 685. So we could very well be range bound between 685 and 725. That's just kind of the consistency there. Let's take a look at the cloud though. I'm curious about this. We're traveling within the cloud, so generally speaking, the concept here is to not consider taking a trade. While the lagging span is breaking free to the downside, that's more of a bearish sign, and the conversion line is below the baseline, we lost significant momentum. It really just implies that we're still within this support range, so it doesn't make a ton of sense to take a long or a short. So I would recommend waiting on the sidelines for another 24 hours. I know it's super hard for most people to do that, but it's recommended to be patient. This is the market you got to be patient in. Those who FOMO in, FOMO out are getting fairly destroyed. In fact, we've got a lot of new members coming over, which I'm thankful for. I'm happy to be able to work with newer traders, but a lot of them got destroyed by moon boys recently, saying we're going to go to the top, the top of the moon or whatever the hell it is. And we had exactly the opposite of that happen over the weekend. While nobody could have forecasted that whole thing happening with the fundamental catalyst that occurred, it's still important to be safe, not sorry. So make sure when you take trades, low leverage, low position size. To give you perspective, we have sweet trades here, of course, with 20% profits on our Bitcoin long. Sorry, correction, that was a 20% profit on Bitcoin short. We shorted at about 59,900. Sorry, 56,900. The numbers get a little jumbled up there, but as we can see here, 56.9 down as low as 55.7. So again, the reason why I like to share that with you is because that's a low leverage trade. While 10x is kind of high in the overall sense, we work within our margins. I generally shoot for 2 to 3% movements with Bitcoin, and then alternative to that, I also shoot for 4% moves for altcoins with 5x leverage instead. Again, the end result is roughly the same. I'm consistently risking the same amount and losing or winning the same amount when I trade. And that's the important thing, is to recognize consistency in trading. So if you've been fairly inconsistent, maybe you might want to shift gears, consider joining our Trading Academy community or Signals group, and I'd be happy to work with you. Either way, thank you again so much for watching. Don't forget to take advantage of this offer from Bitunix. It's only available this month. Link down below for this. If you use my link to register before, you're in the clear. It's automatically eligible for you. But there's no KYC or VPN for these guys, and they're a phenomenal exchange. I highly recommend utilizing them. So check them out. It's all there for you. Hope you have a good rest of your day, though. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you soon.